Hey guys, Luke here. We're here to preview round 13 of the 2015 NRL season. Now this week there's no Origin players out, no nothing. So back to normal, the first normal week in a little while. First game is Broncos taking on the Seagulls. In this game, I do think the Broncos will pick up a victory. I think they've just been way too strong this year, way more consistent. Although Seagulls probably be boosted, although Cherry Evans isn't playing, but just him like re-signing, maybe a little bit more positive attitude possibly. I mean, it's probably just, clutching at straws there for Seagulls. But I think Broncos at home, which is way too strong, and just been way too consistent this year. Although resting Corey Parker, I'm not really sure if that will affect him too much, but I think either way they're just going to be way too strong for the Seagulls, especially in the forward pack that is destroy them, I reckon. So I'm going to say Broncos 13 plus. Seagulls just not strong enough at this stage. Moving on to the next game, Tigers taking on the Titans. Now this should be, I think it should be a good clash. Both sides, I'd say they're even-ish. Obviously Tigers, both sides have the potential to blow away a side, but we've seen Titans, they've been losing games, but they haven't been getting flogged or anything. They've been pretty, they've been in it for a long while. Like, they played pretty well against Rabbitohs, although Rabbitohs haven't exactly lit the world on fire this year, but the last game they played, which was like round 1, Titans got beat by Tigers, who were missing a bunch of players as well. Tigers just beat a Titans side who were missing a whole bunch of players. Although being at home, the safe bet's probably Tigers, but I think Titans might be a bit fired up. You'd think of Cherry Evans leaving them, want to prove that they're not screwed for next year with Cherry Evans not going. And I'm sure they'll be ready and firing, especially LG probably. So I will say Titans 1-12. Knights taking on the Raiders. That's the next one. Now the Knights, I think they've been playing pretty well. Raiders, they've been okay. They've been pretty good. Obviously not winning every week, but I mean, both sides aren't really. Gagai been a bit of a revelation at fullback, although I think it was sort of expected that he would go pretty well at fullback. Although overall, I'm not really sure what to think of the halves combination. I'm not a huge fan of Tuamavavi from what I've seen, although I have seen limited time with him, and it's always been in the centres and that sort of stuff. And we know halves have it tough trying to defend in the centres and on the wing and that, because obviously they're not a centre or a winger. So who knows? Maybe him playing at 5'8" is it's a perfect thing for them. At least they got Tyrone Roberts out of the side, so I suppose that's a positive. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this one. I just think Raiders just a bit too strong all over the park, really. I can just see Papali, Soliola playing pretty well. I don't know. I just like the Raiders for some reason. So I'll go 1-12 Raiders. Next game is the Rabbitohs taking on the Warriors, which I think will be a great game. I really do think it'd be a really good game. You got Sean Johnson up against Keary. I think that'll be a good test. Townsend and Sutton, another good one. Then we got Sam Tompkins up against Greg Inglis. Now, obviously, Tompkins hasn't played too much this year, and I know a lot of people saying he's a flop and that sort of stuff, and I suppose he kind of is. But at the same time, he still is a really, really good player, and him coming back into the side last week, wherever it was, I just think the more game time he gets, the better he's going to get. Not really sure how Lolohea went in the centres last week, if he did play in the centres, because I didn't really see any games last week, but basically I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think the forward pack sort of lets down the Rabbitohs. I'd say actually they are a pretty weak side when you take out like Adam Reynolds and that, and I think they'll be relying heavily on Greg Inglis to carry them, and possibly like Dylan Walker and a handful of guys, and I'm just not sure if they can do it. I just don't know. In saying that though, they are playing at home. Well, actually they're not playing at home. They're playing in Perth, I think. So I suppose Warriors don't really have a good record there, so I suppose you have to say Rabbitohs 1-12, just based on the fact that I don't think Warriors have played well in Perth at all. I'll say 1-12. Moving on to Panthers versus Storm. Actually, that last one, it's funny, I talk up Warriors and then take Rabbitohs. Anyways, moving on to Panthers versus Storm. Now, Panthers, once again, just when you think everything's starting to go a little bit right for them with like injuries and that sort of stuff, they go and have another crucial injury. So Moylan's out for a little bit with Watini Zelezniak coming in. They got Isaiah Yeo moving into the centres with Wonga Blake on the wing. The back line, they got a few little injuries there. Against Storm, they got I was going to say a fresh Slater. Obviously not fresh. He played Origin. But yeah, Cameron Munster's out. I think, although Storm were not that great last week, I think Billy Slater's a big loss, and people underestimate how much like Slater, not only him in attack, but like setting up defenses, just sort of driving the team around. He's sort of like another half. He can sort of direct the play a little bit. But yeah, no excuse for last week. They probably should have won. Well, at least that's what I picked them anyways. But yeah, I think Storm, I think they'll be too strong. Panthers haven't really impressed me this year. I'm not sure what to go with them. But obviously, at this point, although Moylan is out and like Idris is out, that sort of stuff, they're probably one of the healthiest they've been this year. So, I mean, if the ball's going to drop, it's going to drop pretty soon. And they've really got to start getting some wins. In saying that, though, I'm going with the Storm. I'm going to go 1-12. Next game is the Sharks taking on the Roosters. Now, I think this one will be a pretty easy win for the Roosters. I think they'll be way too strong. Just all over the park, just so good. Although Jack Bird has been pretty good in the halves, obviously not really a proper half. Jeff Robson, not really good enough. Ben Barber, pretty crap at fullback. Ennis, and I think Ennis is okay. Didn't have a great game last week, but yeah, Paul Gallen included in the side. That'll be a huge in for them. Just gives them another leader pretty much, and also gives other forwards a bit of a rest because he does a lot of runs. It's hard to replicate his sort of effectiveness he has on the game, just in terms of letting other players have a bit of a rest, just with the amount of runs he has. In saying that, though, I think Roosters, like I said, are going to win this fairly easy. I think the 4-pack, Roosters got a better 4-pack, they got the better halves, and they got the better backs as well. So yeah, I can see this being 13 plus quite easily. And I really don't give Sharks much of a chance here. Sorry, Sharks fans, although I could be wrong. And next up is the Bulldogs taking on the Dragons. Now, obviously, I'm a Bulldog supporter, so this is going to be fairly biased. And I won't give a score or anything because obviously I'm just going to pick the Bulldogs by like whatever. But I will say Dragons, I think they'd have to be the favourites, just overall being better, more consistent this year. For the Bulldogs, I'm not really too happy that Hawkinson's come straight back in. I'm not the biggest fan of Hawkinson this year. Moses moving into the centres. I have to say Moses hasn't been like too impressive in the centres, so that could be a problem. But at the same time, I mean, it could be a good move. I don't really know. I'm really hoping Brett Morris can get back in the side. I think if he's in, Bulldogs win for sure. Yeah, I have a lot of faith in Brett Morris coming in the side at fullback. Just adds a whole nother dimension. Like, you can't teach speed, and he's got a whole lot of it. I think it'll be a lot better performance last time than the Bulldogs and the Dragons, where Dragons flogged them, where Bulldogs had like 50 sets on the line and couldn't do anything. I think Josh Reynolds is in pretty good form. I think a lot less injuries and that sort of stuff, and suspensions, because I think the last game was when the first week after the Rabbitohs game where all the suspensions and injuries happened. So a few more players who are in a bit of form and obviously aren't suspended in that. So yeah, hopefully Reynolds and Hawkinson can sort of steer them around, and Leacher as well. Hopefully they can just do the job, because I don't think it would be a real high scoring game, or at least I hope it's not really, unless the Bulldogs put a whole bunch of points on. But yeah, Dragons can definitely strike really fast with Widdop, Marshall, both great and attacking. Obviously Josh Dugan, we know how good he is. But yeah, obviously I'm going to say Bulldogs. May as well move on to the next game, which is the Eels taking on the Cowboys. And it's the last game of the round, I believe. Let me have a look. Yes, it is. And I'm going to be picking the Cowboys in this one. I just think they'll be way too strong. Morgan and Thurston, obviously they're on a huge win streak, and as they say, with another win you're closer to a loss. But at the same time, like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, Cowboys could go and win every single game the rest of the year. Just a little bit of a saying, I think. I think the Swine playing very well. Granville, Coote, Morgan, Thurston. Obviously, Morgan played injured last week and still played pretty darn well. Thurston, obviously always pretty strong. Even when he's not playing a standout game, he's still a lot better than like 9/10 of the other 90% of the other halves. So definitely a good player. And I think for Eels to be any chance in this, Chris Sano needs to have a blinder, because I don't think they'll be good enough to sort of just play decent and get through this game. I think they really need to have like a real stormer, these guys. Yeah, Cowboys, I can just see they just look stronger all over the park, especially in the forwards and obviously the halves. Yeah, obviously I think they've got a pretty good bench as well, Cowboys. So I think they'll be hard to beat this game. Tamalele will rip them up, I reckon, and as will Thurston. Okay, that's where the video is going to end. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Hopefully you can leave a like, subscribe to my channel If you want to follow me on Twitter, at Mr. Luke YT is my Twitter handle. And I'll see you for my next video. Bye, guys.